He noticed it first on a Wednesday, though he wouldn't be sure of that later. Time, after all, was the very thing that had begun to unravel. He had gone to bed around midnight, after a day so uneventful it barely left a trace, some work emails, a half-eaten dinner, a late shower. Nothing remarkable. And yet, when he opened his eyes the next morning, the clock on his bedside table read 4:12 a.m. The room was dark, the street outside silent, the dim blue digits humming faintly. He assumed he'd woken too early, rolled over, and went back to sleep. But the next morning, it happened again. 4:12 a.m. eyes opening as if triggered. Heart beating a little faster than normal. The exact same angle of his head on the pillow. The exact same stillness of air in the room. The same hush, like the world was holding its breath. He blinked, sat up, and this time got out of bed. Poured a glass of water. Stared out the window. Nothing stirred. The street lamp flickered faintly, casting a weak cone of light onto an empty sidewalk. He stood there for a long time, not tired, not fully awake either, and when the sun finally began to rise, it brought no warmth. He told himself it was coincidence. Twice wasn't a pattern. But when it happened a third time, he felt something shift. He had gone to bed earlier that night, just before 11. He was sure of it. But he still woke up, with perfect clarity, with no dream trailing off, with no awareness of the hours that had passed, to see the digits glowing, 4:12. It became a ritual. No matter what time he fell asleep, 10 p.m., 2 a.m., 3:45, he always woke at exactly 4:12. Not gradually. Not from a sound or discomfort. It was as though some unseen hand lifted the veil of sleep precisely at that moment, as if his consciousness had been slotted into place. He began testing it. He drank until he could barely stand, thinking that alcohol might disrupt the pattern. He took sleeping pills. He listened to music in headphones, set alarms to ring earlier. None of it worked. He would drift off, and then, 4:12 a.m. The numbers pulsing in the dark. No alarm ever rang. No song ever reached its chorus. He started to write notes, hoping to find inconsistencies. Left pages by the bed, scribbled the time he went to sleep, what he ate, what he'd thought about before drifting off. But each morning, the pattern remained. The only thing different was his handwriting, which grew shakier, more hesitant, as if it too were resisting the loop. Then the noises began. They started faintly. The distant clink of glass. A soft creak, like a door opening somewhere deep in the building. But each time he got up to investigate, the apartment was silent. Still. Perfectly arranged. He once turned on every light in the apartment at 4:13 and walked room to room. Nothing. Not a shadow out of place. Not a single sign that he hadn't been alone. And yet, the feeling remained that he was not alone at 4:12. That something awaited his waking, just beyond the edge of perception. It didn't move. It didn't speak. But it noticed him. Every time his eyes snapped open, that thing, presence, consciousness, watcher, was already aware. He tried not sleeping. Forced himself awake with cold water, pinching his thighs, pacing through the night. But no matter how hard he fought it, his body gave in. And when he woke, 4:12. He began to suspect that time wasn't moving at all. He marked calendars. Made voice recordings before sleep, describing the news, the date, the weather. But some mornings, the recordings were missing. Sometimes the calendar had not advanced. One night, he shaved his beard entirely. The next morning, it was back, not fully grown, but more than stubble. Just enough to make him wonder if he had dreamed the razor, or if something had rewound him. And worse, small objects in the apartment began to change. Not vanish, not yet, but alter. A spoon bent differently. A book cover faded, though it had looked new the day before. A framed photo slightly askew, when he never touched it. The angle of the bedroom door more open than closed, even when he remembered shutting it tightly. But the most troubling thing was the window. One morning, after waking again at 4:12, he approached the living room to find the window already open. The curtain gently swayed inward, though no breeze entered. The air smelled wrong, not foul, just foreign, like something that didn't belong to the outside or the apartment. It smelled like stillness. He tried closing the window, but it wouldn't move. The lock clicked, but the frame stayed frozen. He stood there, watching, as the dark street outside shifted slightly, not changed, but subtly reassembled. A street lamp had moved 2 feet to the left. The tree was missing a branch. The crosswalk stripes were narrower. Nothing dramatic. Nothing obvious. Just enough to suggest that this wasn't his street. Or that his street had become a copy of itself, remade imperfectly.